a first move. I can't believe he's just going to stop with the two so-called People's Republics in the Donbass region. And what worries me is what happens after Ukraine. And I think, we've got a real crisis on our hands here.
What do you mean when you say what happens after Ukraine? You think he's ambitious enough to go after other countries in Eastern Europe, including NATO allies?
Well, I wonder. I wouldn't bet my paycheck that he wouldn't do that. He's not getting a lot of advice from people that are telling him that some of his ideas are bad. He's surrounded by sycophants that are yes men. So he's not getting opposing opinions or opposing views. So I think we need to, as the United States needs to worst case this and do what we can to reinforce NATO and start those sanctions, turn them on right away, because they won't take effect in the next few days.
But he knows
he moves the so-called peacekeeping.
I was going to say, General Clapper, sorry for interrupting. He knows, Putin, that if he were to attack one NATO country, he's attacking all 30 NATO countries. They are all committed to responding.
That's correct. And this may not take the form of an overt invasion. There are other, as we've seen, there are other forms of attack that Putin could use, notably in the cyber realm. So I think, and generally in the information operations, misinformation, disinformation, those kinds of things that I think he would employ against former countries that were formerly in the Soviet orb, which he also feels very defensive about because he views them as unfriendly. So I don't think just because of whatever happens in Ukraine, I don't think it's going to be the end of it. And I certainly don't think that if he incorporates these two people's republics into the larger Russian orb, that he's going to stop.
Yeah, this is a very, very sensitive, delicate moment. At this point, General Clapper, the White House isn't publicly saying whether they view this so-called, quote, peacekeeping force sent from Russia into eastern Ukraine as an invasion. If Russian troops cross the border into Ukraine, whether they call it peacekeepers or anything else, it's clearly an invasion, right?
Well, that would be my view, but I think the White House administration has done very well through this, has played not the greatest hand pretty astutely. So they want to keep their options open. But for me, when any Russian troops march into any part of Ukraine under any pretense, regardless of what it's called, that to me walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's an invasion.
Yeah, that's what most people would say. As someone who led the nation's key intelligence agencies, you've studied Putin clearly for a long time. What do you see as his calculation here? Well,
I took note of what the Finnish Prime Minister said about the change in Putin. He has a lot of interactions, a lot of meetings with him. And I think this has reached the point of anger and aggrievement on Putin's part that I'm not sure he's thinking rationally anymore. And that's what I find very disturbing about trying to predict or anticipate what's he going to do next. And I find it very disconcerting.
Because the price he's about to pay, the economic sanctions, the economic price, the political price, and maybe the price in lives, casualties, if the Russians move full scale into Ukraine, would be horrendous. I don't understand what he's trying to do either, but we will see what he does. General Clapper, thanks as usual for joining us.